welcome to the Contenders podcast where we talk everything that is wrestling. I am your host Jason and join me as I dissect this episode of Hardtalk. We are joined by our co-hosts Scott and Matt if he is available today. We are an unbiased show here and we'll go into this podcast with an open mind. Whether it's good or whether it's bad, we aren't afraid to hit on some honest thunders for it. If you're new to this, then please like, share, comment and subscribe and comment in the comment section below and share with us your opinions of what wrestling has been like over the past couple of months. And tell you what guys, it has been heavy. We've got Triple H at the helm of WWE now as Vince McMahon has announced his retirement. But anyway guys, stay with us as we have a lot to discuss here on YouTube. Are you ready? This is the Contenders podcast, Part 2. What are your thoughts on the NXT UK invasion?
I wanted to see something similar to this for a very long time now, especially when you had the Raw and SmackDown Survivor Series ones. Apart from a Worlds Collide pay-per-view, we've not really had that battle in NXT before, so now it looks like we're getting something serious, and yeah, I'm very looking forward to it.
What does this mean for WWE now?
I think it means we're just, now that Triple H has taken over the creative, we're just going into a different way. We're going down a different road now, and I think the creative is going to be better. We're going to see fresher ideas, newer ideas, and I can't wait to see what happens.
A lot of people have been judging it so far, but is it too early to judge Triple H at the helm 3 weeks in?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the same with football. When a football club brings a new manager and you stay in a couple of games, yeah, everything's all hunky-dory and everyone's loving life. But then there's got to be bigger tests to come further down the line. There's got to be more different storylines, more hurdles to overcome. So you have to basically judge it as it goes along. I mean, right now it's a great start. It's a very... And he's brought back some stars that fans missed and didn't really want to get rid of in the first place. So he's a good start to life. And if we're judging it by just the start only, yeah, it's a good one. But we're needing to now build on that.
Build on, how would you build on it?
Just keep going. Fresh. We want freshness. Yes. Not the same things all the time, like we saw under Vince, where we had the same match for 3 straight pay-per-views. We don't need that. Fresher feuds, different ways of building such feuds. I mean, yeah, we've got the 6-man women's tag match lined up at Castle Castle. I think it's Bayley, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky versus Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, and Asuka. Now you've got the 2 teams competing in the tag team tournament. I think, but then if you get a result there, you can use that to build towards the 6-woman tag at Clash of the Castle. So just doing something fresh, just freshen it up, a different build up, go down different paths, look at different avenues, just do things differently. That's all we need to do.
Is Triple H going to take us into a new era of wrestling? Are things going to change for the better? Or is it going to take time?
I would like to see a new era. I mean, I know a lot of fans want to see similarities to the Attitude Era. And the Attitude Era was brilliant. It was its own identity, but that was then. The Attitude Era is the Attitude Era. Just like the Ruthless Aggression Era. Just like the PG Era. They all add their own specifics, and maybe the best way Triple H can implement his own strategies, his own plans, is to create his own era and just do things his way. Take guidance from from the past, but don't necessarily use that as your guideline.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. But as we had this discussion with Michael on, the FCW group that we have, Michael had the comment where he would like to see an Attitude Era 2.0. Are we going to see that in WWE? Is it unfolding?
Well, I think Karrion Kross is someone who I think definitely fits the mould of an Attitude Era style character. And I think he's actually a character that fits a lot of the eras. You could actually visualise him in the Ruthless Aggression era too. So I think he's a fresh character. There's no one in the main event picture right now like Kross. So I think it's a good move. Would it be 2.0? I don't know. Because it's way too early. But with Edge coming in, with the Judgment Day stuff, there is a lot of similarities. But I must say, do not use that. Do not just basically say this is the Attitude Era 2.0, because I think that's a dangerous game to play.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to repeat what happened 20 years ago. And I don't think he should. I mean, the Attitude Era is the Attitude Era. The past is the past.
I agree.
If you keep on looking behind you, you won't see what's in front of you.
Exactly.
And in front of you right now is a new era with new stars and new beginnings. Let's focus on that instead. I think
it's a good comment to make. The WWE shouldn't be looking to the past to try and make the product better. They should be moving forward and looking for new avenues. They've got stars there that they could utilise to create a better product. And like you said, we could go. Triple H could take us back 20 years. Stephanie McMahon could take us back 20 years. And I tell you what, if they pulled out the same content they did back then, it would not work today. You would have a lot of women complaining about the stuff that they're saying, that wrestlers could say, or the content that they could end up producing, such as the likes of the bra and panties matches won't work today as they did back then. You there?
Nice.
You there?
Yeah, I think you was talking, all of a sudden you stopped.
Oh, bloody hell.
No, I can hear you.
Where did it stop?
You was not long after you said bra and panties, funnily enough.
Yeah, it's... If they produced that content today, it wouldn't work. You'll probably have a lot of men that would, tune in, but it wouldn't work. I don't think it would work today, to be honest. If they tried to pull out a lot of the product that they did back then, I don't think it would. It wouldn't go down well. Where it's too political nowadays, isn't it? People overlook things. The more like, oh, you can't say this, you can't do that, you can't wear that during this. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But that's how the world is today.
Different world. I mean,
yeah.
I think things happen, and I think. I'm not saying people are scarred by things, but I think people are more considerate. A lot of people are more considerate to say that, well, maybe there are other people out there that don't like the same things that I do. So it's just the way it is.
There were things that you could look back 20 years, and there were things 20 years. You could look back 40 years. And you could watch a Hulk Hogan promo, and you could literally dissect his promo and go, that sounds weird. That sounds totally weird.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I've watched a lot of like his promos back in the day, and I'm thinking, how is he allowed to say that? How was he allowed to say that? That just sounds absolutely wrong.
Well, it's just different world. I mean, nowadays you've got with all the new lingo you've got going around. I mean, the social media era where a lot of things go around, whereas back then there wasn't really any spoilers. There was no places where people can go and rant. Basically, you saw it, and then that was it.
That was it, yeah.
Loved it. And so I suppose there was more. Well, there was more room to sort of go ahead and say what you wanted to say, really, without really people. I suppose people didn't really have a chance to be offended back then. So it's just, yes, there wasn't really those people that took offence to it in them days. Whereas now, people are different. There's different people in the world now. There's different types of people in the world now. So I suppose, yeah, you've got to consider other people before you say something.
Or even if you do something, you know, they could make the show more sexier, in a way where, you know, the women are more like, you know, wearing more lustrous outfits and whatever, and then you could have people dissecting that and going, well, that just looks too lewd for TV. But is the change of a PG rating to TV-14 sounding like we're going to get something more?
Possibly. I mean, yeah, I think a lot of fans don't like the PG era, but I don't think that we should just go back to women wearing sort of revealing clothes. At the end of the day, those women can wrestle. They don't need to wear revealing clothes to get over in the world anymore. Because Vince, I will say one thing, he has given those ladies the chance to showcase how good they are. That's one thing that he has done well in the last few years, although that's probably with Stephanie herself, I will say. But yeah, I think I think he has given the women a shot, and I think now they should carry on with that. They don't need to sort of wear skimpy stuff anymore. Don't need it.
Or even need to sexualise the show. But so you would disagree with the comment of not wanting an Attitude 2.0?
I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing, but at the same time, it's not 100% the good way to go. Because I think what happened, it's going to be very, very hard to match and get 100% to the T what happened 20 years ago. I mean, I was watching WrestleMania 14 earlier today. I mean, you had Undertaker versus Kane in that match, Austin versus Shawn Michaels, The Rock versus Ken Shamrock. I mean, absolute brilliant guys that everyone used to love. And nowadays, the star man in the company is some guy walking around with a briefcase and taking selfies.
It's true. You know, they had back then they had a full roster that was wanting and more hungry.
Exactly.
Nowadays, it's like you've only got one star that you've created, and you've thrown us in our faces for 10 years. Nothing worked until he turned heel. It took 10 years for them to do that, you know, and I think 10 years is too long to try and help raise a star, you know. I think that was just too long to, you know, a bad mistake.
And do they have the roster for something anywhere near the Attitude Era? And the answer to that question is no. They don't have the roster right now.
The thing is it going to take another 10 years to make a star out of Austin Theory, you know? does a viewer like yourself, I'm talking from a viewer's opinion, would you want to wait another 10 years like they did with Roman for them to change him to heel, for him to be a success? Are you going to want to watch WWE for another 10 years?
I've always been under the impression that Austin Theory is going to be a star. I saw it I started noticing this last year, how much of a star Austin Theory will become. But if you're waiting 10 years to push your brightest young talent, when I say young, less than 30 years old, who's within the company, working full-time, main roster, near a title picture, they haven't had someone on that level probably since John Cena or maybe even Roman Reigns. 10 years is far too long. They need to start pushing these guys soon. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying that he's got to do it straight away. Yes, he's got the briefcase, but I can't see his first title reign being a great success. I think he won't be a success properly until his second or third reign, I think. Which I think will happen. But 10 years, nah. I don't think it should be anywhere near 10 years. 2 or 3 at the most.
So basically what you're saying is, we'll push you for 2-3 years. If you're not a star within 2-3 years, you're going to get mid-carded.
I think pushing by all means, but we shouldn't wait that long.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
While the main stars. I mean, you'll probably see over time how serious a company is about someone.
So the question is, if you don't want to wait 10 years for them to make a star out of Austin Theory, it brings the question of, was it a mistake in throwing Roman at us for 10 years before he even got over as a heel?
Well, Vince
was 10 years too much for throwing Roman in our face?
Well, Roman first sort of became a really big star, really when the Shield ended.
Yeah.
I mean, when Rollins became the big star in the Authority, Roman was always going to be that big singles babyface. And Vince pushed that character quite hard. But probably, I think he over-pushed him to the fact that fans weren't accepting him. He was supposed to be a babyface that people cheer for, and because Vince pushed him too much into the spotlight, they just wouldn't accept him. I mean, Royal Rumble 2017 is the prime example. He lost to Kevin Owens in the opening match of the night for the Universal Championship. Comes out in the Royal Rumble in the main event at number 30, which the fans really hated. Eliminated The Undertaker in that match. Okay, fair enough, Randy Orton won it. But then he went on, beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania, and did you hear the amount of boos he got the next night on Raw after he beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania? Quite possibly one of the loudest boos a wrestler has got in the last several years. That guy was a face. He was a face.
He was a face and he got booed.
Exactly. Maybe it's just a case of over pushing. I think Vince was always going to push him. Maybe he pushed him that bit too hard, and I think fans resent him for it.
Was it a bad thing for him to get the win over Undertaker?
I think yes and no. I think no because he was their star. Roman was their star singles guy. And of course, if you want to push him to the moon, you beat someone like The Undertaker at WrestleMania. But at the same time, it was all happening so fast in a certain amount of time. I mean, you had him, he won the world title, 2-3 times in the space of a year or two. He was main eventing WrestleMania every year. Think about it, WrestleMania 31, that when Rollins cashed in, Reigns main evented it. WrestleMania 32, Reigns main evented it with Triple H. WrestleMania 33, Reigns main evented with Undertaker. WrestleMania 34, Reigns main evented with Lesnar. I think he was just getting so much. He was pushed so much, and I think fans just wanted something different.
Yeah.
They didn't want to see Roman get this all the time. I didn't.
No.
And I don't hate Roman. I got no malice towards Roman at all. I think he's a great character. But I think he was over pushed. He was just given way too much.
Yeah.
Whereas you had guys on the roster like Kevin Owens, who was a great talent, he wasn't getting anywhere near that amount.
It's a shame, really, because you had guys like Nakamura who only had one title run. You've got guys in the back like Bobby Roode who never even had the opportunity to raise up to the ranks, other than pick up a tag team championship. Or did he have the US title?
Bobby Roode, yes.
Yeah.
I think he lost it to Randy Orton, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. But, like, it's like people like him, I've always wanted, to just see him, or Samoa Joe at least, get a win, the big win for the fans. And Joe at the time, he had incredible mic skills. Even on the commentary box, he was absolutely brilliant. Why the hell would you want to release him? And then what makes it even more worse? Triple H brings him back, gives him the NXT title again. Everyone's going absolute crazy, blowing their nuts off. Vince McMahon takes over. Day later, gets rid of him. I'm like, what the absolutely Joe is going on?
Well, because Joe did have the fitness issues where he wasn't being cleared to wrestle. The WWE doctors weren't clearing him, and I think there was a little bit of frustration on both parts. Joe probably wanted to compete probably wanted to be a wrestler more than a commentator, whereas Vince wasn't prepared to let him wrestle. I suppose maybe there could be both sides of that, to be more than one side to that story.
What if is the question. If these people like Nakamura had been given a chance to hold that title again, if Samoa Joe had been given a chance to beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, if those had that opportunity at WrestleMania instead of Roman Reigns, would it have made better TV?
That's a good question. I would hope so. I mean, Joe's always been a great wrestler, and I think he's always been at the top level in whatever brand he's competed on. Ring of Honor, Impact, NXT. He was a main eventer in pretty much every single one of those. And I suppose a main eventer in other people's eyes isn't a main eventer in Vince McMahon's eyes. And I suppose it's because of that things didn't quite go to plan. But yeah, I would love to have seen Joe main event at WrestleMania. I mean, he had those opportunities in 2017 where he wrestled Brock Lesnar at Great Balls of Fire, I think it was, and he pushed Brock quite close that night. He gave Brock a hell of a match. So I think
that was an amazing match. That was.
Yeah, he should have had more opportunities, absolutely. But there's a lot of people you could say that about. I mean, Kevin Owens. I mean, Lesnar versus Owens. That would be a great match. Daniel Bryan, Seth Rollins. There's loads that could have got their opportunity. Is that Roman's got?
It just brings the question all the time, you know. Does it also brings the question: is your lineage have a more like prominent role in WWE so far? What, like, where you're from, like your background, does that hold more power? You know, for you to get pushed more, if you're like, say, a brother of The Rock, or the son of the Undertaker, or you know, nephew to Kurt Angle, or
In some cases, I think it does. But in some cases, in life, it's proven it hasn't. I mean, like Bruno Sammartino, world-class champion, one of the greatest champions of the company's history. But his son, David Sammartino, didn't quite make a cut. But then, I mean, like The Rock, for instance, his father, his grandfather, although they were great stars, they weren't main event world champions.
yeah.
But then Dwayne come along with absolute bucket load of charisma, incredible mic skills, and I think it was that made him a star more than who his father and grandfather was. So sometimes, yeah, it does help, but you also need your own identity.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Randy Orton. His father was probably never a world champion. His father was never a main eventer. But then Randy comes along, 14 world titles, all those main events, because he worked for that. That's something that Randy's worked on. That's a part of who Randy is. So even though, yeah, it can help, I think it also pays to have your own personality and your own standards. And that's what gets you far.
Understandable there. Understandable. Another question. Is the Chief beating Sammartino?
Oh, Sammartino was champion for, what was it, 8 years?
8 years.
I hope not. I freaking hope not.
Are we heading for a Roman Reigns for another 8 years? So we've had 10 years of him. Are we gonna have Roman Reigns for another 8?
Please no.
Please. I'm hoping he's gone by Clash of Champions, to be honest.
Nothing against Roman, as I said, but sometimes things just go on too much. Maybe back then, in the 60s and stuff, when Sammartino was a champion, it was a different world. You had different fans and different promoters and stuff, and I suppose there wasn't really that weekly TV show that you see week in, week out. Back then, you just had like special events, like boxing matches, I suppose, where you come in every so often, you wrestle, and you go home again. The schedule wasn't as strong back then. So now, where you're seeing Roman, well, I would say week in, week out, but he doesn't show up every week. So I sort of say that it's, in this day and age, sometimes too much is too much.
Like you said, just too far too much. If they were going to, if they had the idea of having Roman as a champion for 8 years, would it work in today's audience? Would they get bored?
Yes, absolutely. I think so.
How long would you want him as champion? A year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years?
Well, I think if you analyse the booking from a different viewpoint of his title reign so far, you will see that a lot of it does make sense. And him being the champion for this amount of time, there is benefits to it. I mean, nobody wants the world title who pass around like a pass a parcel every so often. No one wants to see that. So you do want those long reigns. And the way they've built him up, I mean, he is the unstoppable champion. I mean, just look at the names he's beaten since holding that belt. I mean, he beat McIntyre at Survivor Series in that cross-brand thing. Daniel Bryan, Edge, John Cena, Brock Lesnar, Goldberg, Kevin Owens.
The Usos.
I mean, he's beaten big names. And I think
Finn Balor, Braun Strowman.
Yeah, that's more. And now I think he is in that position where he is there for someone to beat him, for the next person to become the great star. He's the pinnacle of the WWE, if you look at it. He's the scalp. He's basically like Muhammad Ali was to the heavyweight division. Everyone wants to claim that scalp. Everyone wants to beat Roman Reigns. He's the guy.
The guy, yeah.
And Ric Flair come out with a very great saying all those years ago: to be the man, you've got to beat the man.
Yeah.
And right now, Roman Reigns is the man. Whoever beats him becomes the next man, really, if you think about it.
We discussed this briefly on the chat. We've never done it on the Contenders Corner podcast. I've never asked this question on here, but we have talked about it in the FCW chat. What if it's not going to be another star, as you said, that should elevate and take the scout out, as in Roman Reigns? What if he turns up at WrestleMania? The Rock enters that arena and The Rock beats the guy. What would your thoughts be on that?
If that match does happen, I don't think The Rock should be winning that match. I think The Rock is the final scalp for Reigns to take. Because he's obviously with the they're from the same bloodline, and they're from the obviously they're from the same family, and I don't think it needs the title to boost it. But if that match ever did happen, then Reigns has to win it. But for that to happen, I think the belt probably does add to it, because you're keeping Reigns undefeated all the way through to that. But I just don't think The Rock should win that match. I think it has to be a Roman Reigns win, hands down.
If that's the case, is Theory cashing in at Mania?
I think they should keep the briefcase on him for a little while longer, because sometimes WWE likes to pull the trigger a little bit too early, and it can backfire.
I can see him cashing in at Mania.
I just don't want him to do it in Cardiff. As long as it's not in Cardiff, I don't care.
I can see it at Mania, because, to be honest with you, I think The Rock is going to be his most toughest opponent. Apart from Brock Lesnar, I think that's going to be his next big opponent, to be honest. Drew McIntyre can bring the fight, but I can't see him beating Roman Reigns at this moment in time.
No, he has to. He has to. I'm investing so much.
I know. I've heard stories that we're going to get the Broken Dreams McIntyre, and if that's the case, then the Broken Dreams McIntyre should beat Roman Reigns. But I don't know.
He has. I'm investing so much in a McIntyre win. I'm basically thinking this has to be the time. It has to. This is the best chance anyone's going to get of ending the Roman Reigns title run. It's going to happen in Cardiff. This is the best of chance of it happening.
If it's not McIntyre, then who could it be?
If it's not McIntyre, Cody is definitely at the top of that list.
Yeah, I'd said that forward.
Yeah, I think Bron Breakker is also on the top of that list.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it has to be Drew. It has to be Drew.
I'm gonna name 5.
Okay.
Bron Breakker.
Yes.
Cody. Another one, but that's another big if as well. Cross.
Cross will take a bit of building if they are going to do that. I mean, he's just come back. I think he can threaten Roman, and I think he can play a big part in what happens going forward. But it's just really put a spanner in the works for Clash at the Castle.
But like you said, if it's got to be somebody that can be elevated, I think it could be Bray Wyatt. But that's whether he returns.
If he returns, yeah.
If he returns.
I mean,
out of all them people, I think the only guy who could take it would be the Fiend. Now, everyone says the Fiend lost to Roman Reigns. The Fiend didn't lose to Roman Reigns because Roman Reigns pinned Braun Strowman.
Yeah, that's what I say. Even though it was a part of the match, the Fiend didn't technically get beaten.
No, but they always put the Fiend in his list, but he never got pinned.
Yeah. Alright, fair enough. He didn't win the match, fair enough. But he didn't technically get pinned or submitted.
Moving on, let's go over to Quake of the Lake. What are your thoughts on Quake of the Lake? How it started? What are your thoughts going into the pay-per-view? Well, the mini show, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought it was a good show. I mean, it was going to get the coffin match, which I thought would probably stole the show, and I think it probably did. Jericho versus Moxley, great world title match. The return of that bloke who everyone keeps talking about. You know his name. Yeah, it's just it was a good show. Yeah, it was a really good show.
Yeah, I agree. The Brody King and Darby Allin gave that fight, man. Oh my god. And again, I'm going to ask you this question. Like, you know, you got a lot of people that always criticise AEW for the stuff that they do, but this is the kind of matches, the entertainment as well. It was like non-stop. You know, it was back to back. Both guys were, you know, bringing the fight on, and then when you thought it could be paused, the Sting came out. It was absolute brilliant, and the only bad thing was, it wasn't the main event.
Yeah, I actually backed down the main event purely because the previous two coffee matches before that main evented their respective show. I mean, when he faced Ethan Page, that was a main event, and when he faced Andrade, that was a main event. So I thought, well, that was early too, but they opened with it, which did surprise me. It did surprise me that was the first match.
Right, here's a question for you. So, are we going to be seeing, probably, not in the next coming months or whatever, but say if they built it next year or in the future at some point, is Darby Allin going to be the next AEW World Champion after CM Punk? Is he the next star?
Well, he is a star. He's on right already. But I do think he will be a world champion at some point. I do think that. When, I don't know. But I do believe he will win the world championship.
The grown there. So, are you criticising his size? Are you doing a Vince McMahon here?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. For a little guy, he's got such a huge heart, and he can do things that not a lot of wrestlers will.
I'll tell you what. Like his coffin, the past few coffin matches have been absolute brilliant.
Yeah,
but there's
the one with Page was fantastic. The one with Sting. The one with Andrade when Sting was in the crowd dressed as Sting. Fantastic.
That was brilliant.
And then the one with Brody King, which was So they've all been good, all of them.
AEW have took a lot of heat lately. You got fans who love AEW, then you got fans who love WWE but don't like AEW. What's the crack going on here? What's your take on this?
Well, I think it's just silly, if you ask me. I mean, you got WWE fans and you got AEW fans, but the fact that fans from each side just want to go out there and trash the other products. I mean, grow up, for crying out loud. It's acceptable to watch and like both companies.
Yes.
And
brilliant.
A lot of people are turning this into some stupid rivalry. I mean, it ain't like a professional sports where you're going to face each other twice a season. It ain't going to work like that. You're not going to compete against each other unless a deal gets struck. But it's two completely different products offering two completely different services. You got one that's got their own ideas, and another's got other ideas. I mean, if you don't like it, fair enough. Move on with your life. Just focus on the things you do like. Don't just go ahead and just start trashing other companies on social media or whatever, because that's just sad.
The animosity that it's caused, does this damage AEW? You've got a lot of people that are trolling AEW. You've got a lot of people that are causing a lot of drift between two companies. There's a lot of animosity, hate towards a young company that's only like 3 years old. Does this damage the would you say, over the years, a lot of trolling has happened towards AEW with, we don't like this, or, this is too much, but WWE have done that over the years, and their matches have been, that's too bad, that's too stale, but does this damage the viewer rates? Was this planted by WWE?
You're always going to get people who are criticised. That's basically what they is. People these days, they just love a good moan, don't they? They enjoy it. And people, it will only damage AEW if other people listen to them. And if you think about it, AEW is probably the most watched wrestling company in England, the United Kingdom right now. And AEW, they sell out enough every show they see. Every time I watch AEW on TV, the fans are fully invested. They're loving it. They're so behind every match. I don't think it's damaging him too badly, because for every person out there who wants to criticise AEW, there's going to be someone else just next to come along that's going to love it. And I think they are... All they need to do is just keep putting their products out there, keep doing what they're doing, and if people don't like it, fair enough. But and there are people that do, and that's what they should be targeting.
Is AEW a mud show? So when I went onto this wrestling page, and there were a lot of people that were totally trashing AEW, and I said it's too young for them to, trash talk them that bad. He described AEW as an outlaw mud show.
Well, it depends what he sort of means by that. I mean, yeah, they are new, and I suppose if you're comparing them on the level to WWE are, then yeah, it is unfair to sort of judge it because WWE have got a massive head start on them. But I think for entertainment value, I mean, I prefer to judge the products they put on TV. So if WWE put Raw on and AEW put on Dynamite, I will judge the show that they put out each week. If I think Dynamite is the more entertaining show, I will say that. And I think, yeah, it's not perfect because there's no such thing as a perfect wrestling company. You will never ever find that. So, I mean, a lot of people do like to talk bad about them and say this, but then I know a few people along wrestling circuits on social media that will back them to the moon. I know people that are very passionate about AEW and that will support them wherever it goes. So, yeah, I mean, you always got to get people that criticise, but then the same thing with WWE. There are a load of people out there that are criticising the product of WWE. Okay, fair enough. It's been absolute dog turd recently before Triple H took over. But still, the point is still there.
Can we at least agree that WWE have been pretty much stale for 15 years?
15's pushing it, I think, but in recent years, absolutely. I think in the last few years, it's been not as good. You still have good moments, don't get me wrong. I mean,
yeah, they have But look, I asked you this question not last week, the week before, and I said to you, can a show such as WWE get by producing a bad show, and how many bad shows can they get by before viewers go down?
Well, I think Raw has lost viewership in the past, where numbers have gone down
pretty bad, yeah.
Quite a bit, yeah. I think people probably return for pay-per-views, really see what's going on, because Raw, in some cases, has been... I've seen people describe it as unwatchable.
Unwatchable.
Which is a terrible way to describe it. And in some cases, I have been watching highlights of it on Sunday mornings on Channel 5, and some of the stuff they do, I just sit there and think, why am I watching this? And then...
But it's like the question that I asked you again 2 weeks ago, and when I said, is 4 hours too long for a show? You know, I could watch Dynamite and I could watch it for 2 hours, an hour and 51 minutes some shows are. 2 hours, probably 2 hours 30, you know, and I absolutely love the show. I watch it from you know, from when it starts to when it ends. You know, I think 2 hours is absolutely good. I think it's a good place to be at. Is 4 hours 30 too long for a show?
Yeah, 2 hours is a reasonable enough time for a wrestling show. I mean, as I said earlier, I was watching WrestleMania 14. I mean, the show was done in less than 3 hours, and maybe that's the sort of standard for 3 hours for a weekly show. I mean, that's just too much for a Raw. That is too much. Way too much.
For me, in the past, their promos just seemed too long. It was like you had one promo segment that was like 15 minutes long, then there was another that was half an hour. Then it just seemed too long for me. There was too much filler in there, and rather than getting to the action. You know, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Whereas Dynamite, it feels so much better because it just gets you have an opener. You know, Jim Ross opens the show and then bang on, a match has already started. You know what I mean? Okay, that's what I want to see.
Yeah, I mean, people, if you start a show with a match, and yeah, you're going straight into things, and if you're not messing about. You're showing that we're putting on a wrestling show. Here we are, and that's what happens.
There was another person I had a debate with, and he said AEW failing on many levels lately because of the rise of Triple H. Should an AEW fan be worried at this moment in time?
I wouldn't say worried, no, because
exactly. I agree.
Fans still watching it, so no. I don't think so.
Is Rampage doing bad?
I wouldn't say it's bad, no. I mean, I watched the show last night. I mean, you had the heel turn from Sunny Kiss, which I thought was strange, but then it's something different. You're actually giving Sunny Kiss something to build on. So yeah, there's a reason for it, and let's see where it takes. But I wouldn't say it's bad. I mean, look at the tag match from last week: Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland versus Josh Woods and Tony Nese. Do you guys say that's a bad match? Because I wouldn't. I thought that was entertaining as hell. Jace?
There's a comment that I'm trying to find. So basically, I said to this guy, AEW fans shouldn't be worried, and he said to me they really should. The networks are fickle. The ratings have dropped. If AEW doesn't get better organised, which it seems they are attempting, and get into actual storytelling, they will pull from their current network. Look how hard it is to find Impact. That is where AEW could end up. Could AEW end up as TNA?
What was that, sorry?
Could AEW end up as TNA? Which is what he's saying, basically.
It's very, very early to say that. Right now, I think they're okay. I don't think they're close to that just yet.
Well, to be honest, Dynamite last week pulled in the figures. He brought in over 900,000 views. For someone to say that comment, I think is absolutely bogus, because TNA Impact only brings in less than 50,000, 100,000 views each show each week. So I think, in terms of is AEW going to end up as TNA? Probably no.
Nah.
You know,
I mean,
when
TNA at the height of their power, when Hulk Hogan and that was there, yeah, that was probably their greatest ever spell.
Yeah.
I mean, you had big names in there. You were touring the UK. They were getting TV deals over here on Challenge. Yeah, it was a great time for TNA, but then it just all drops off through poor business decisions. And I don't think. I mean, Tony Khan is a very, very rich man. His father has a load of money, so I don't think it's getting there just yet, because I think they've still got a load of fans. They're in a good place. I mean, they might not be on the level worldwide that WWE is, but they're in a good place. I don't think there's a lot of time to worry just yet.
They're not on a level as WWE, but they pulled in a massive stadium for Forbidden Door, and I think that touched a level for WWE to see. And I think this is what's we brought, really. I think Forbidden Door woken up somebody at WWE, to be honest. Forbidden Door was an absolute big stadium. It was sold out crowd. It was a show stealer. You know what I mean? Absolutely successful. It didn't only just sell out. It didn't only just sell out the stadium. There were a lot of people watching, tuned in, millions. You know, and I think, this is why. To be honest with you, I think this is why Triple H is at the helm. I think it was one of the reasons.
No, yeah, and even Cape Bar Lake this Wednesday was the Target Centre, which is where the Minnesota Timberwolves and Minnesota Wild play. But you got NBA, NHL teams playing that arena. I mean, that's a decent building to put it in. I mean, if you're going to be in Minnesota, then you've got to go for the Target Centre. And the fact that they put on a great show there.
I saw a picture. So WWE's latest pay-per-view, which would have been SummerSlam.
Yes.
They didn't show half of the stadium. Right? They only showed you one half, which was full. So basically, I saw a picture on Instagram, and basically it said that there was a side of the stadium that WWE were forcing to not show the viewers, because basically it was one side of the stadium where they couldn't sell.
Yeah, I don't know how real that is, though.
So basically, they lost 20,000 tickets, apparently.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's actually real or not. Because sometimes you get people say, it's not real, or stuff like that, so I haven't got a clue.
But what's next for CM Punk? Last two questions.
Recovery and then John Moxley, I think.
John Moxley.
Because he's not medically cleared to compete yet.
No.
And it looks like Punk and Moxley will be happening within the next couple of months, I think.
Is it All Out, is it?
So, All Out is, it's 2 weeks away.
2 weeks away, yeah.
I don't think Punk will be medically cleared for All Out. So it could be maybe Grand Slam.
Grand Slam. I get you. I've heard Takeshita was meant to be negotiated for WWE, but he said no. What are your thoughts on that?
I can see why WWE are interested, because he is
brilliant,
a great wrestler.
He is.
Every time I see him, he knocks it out of the park. I mean, he had a great match with Jay Lethal. He had a great match with Hangman Page. He had a great match with Eddie Kingston. He had a great match with John Moxley. He is star quality. So I can see why WWE would want him. But he is taking the decision to stay with AEW and also work with AEW, and I say fair enough.
Would you have trusted? Would you have trusted Takeshita to go to a WWE with Vince at the helm?
No.
Mm.
No, I wouldn't.
And that's what brings the question, really. It's like, I would prefer him to stay in AEW for a while. Only because of... It's too early for me to judge Triple H or whatever. I think the show is doing well. It's more enjoyable to watch now. But again, it's too early, like you said, to judge anything. But as far as what I've seen, it's made some drastic improvement to the booking that we have been getting from Vince McMahon. But I've heard rumours that WWE have been contract tampering, trying to contact wrestlers from AEW to go over to WWE. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. It keeps breaking up, I know.
Did you get that?
Again.
I've heard rumours that WWE have been contacting wrestlers from AEW. Would this fall under contract tampering, or WWE doing something wrong here to contact AEW wrestlers?
In a way, yeah. It's tapping up, which isn't because they are under contract with another company. And if you're going in behind that company's back trying to get their employers to work for you, then yeah, it's not a great move. So yeah, it's not.
Is Takeshita under contract with AEW?
I think he works for DDT, I think, the Japanese promotion. So I think that's his main employer. But I think he's been working in AEW. I don't know what sort of contracts it is. I don't know if it's it was an appearance-based contract or what.
All right.
Yeah, I think at the moment that contract has sort of run out. But I do think Tony Khan will arrange something at fresher terms. Maybe bring in on a more regular basis. So that I don't know, but I think his main contract of employment is with DDT.
One more question. Should AEW fans be worried MJF? Should they be worried about MJF at this moment in time?
At this moment in time, I think not yet. Because MJF is under contract until 2024. So
is he in?
There's a cancellation of that contract. He's still an AEW employee. So I think until something happens, I don't think it should be worried just yet.
Is it contract issues? Is it storyline? Is it an injury? What's going on with MJF at the minute?
It could be a combination of all of them. I mean, yeah, I think he has openly spoke about the fact that he isn't as paid enough, doesn't pay as much as some of these ex-WWE guys that are coming in. And whereas MJF has been one of the top performers in the company since it created back in 2019. So he's always been around the main talking points. So yeah, I think he is a star that they should be looking after financially and giving them sort of every assurance under the book, saying, yeah, I really value you a lot. You're top here, but then he's not happy about it. And I think maybe Tony Khan's used that into a storyline. I don't think we've seen the last of MJF in AEW at all. I think there's definitely something there for him, 100%.
Is AEW Is AEW being affected by the lack of presence from some of the guys that are injured?
I think so, yeah. I think since Double or Nothing, in my opinion, the booking hasn't been as great. I mean, look, I'm not saying it's been terrible, but I think since Double or Nothing and such has happened, and when they've done the work with Forbidden Door, even though Forbidden Door was a brilliant show with fantastic wrestling matches, the booking or the build up to it was a little bit below par. Whereas then maybe they didn't advertise the matches enough. And since then, I think, I mean, if you look at John Moxley's interim title reign, the people he's faced have been, probably least deserving than less deserving other people. Whereas Rush got the title shot, whereas I think Andrade should have got it.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think some of the booking hasn't been as good as it was up to Double or Nothing. So I think with the stars coming back, with once Punk, Omega and all that is there, maybe we will see it pick up and be brilliant again. But I'm in no way criticising the products, but I just think it hasn't quite hit the heights that it was beforehand. I think some of the best booking recently has been Christian Cage and Jungle Boy.
Yeah.
Apart from that, it's not had that, that about it.
Yeah.
It's just something
I know what you mean.
Missing a little.
Are they going to break 1 million views?
I think they have done in past shows, and I know that there's going to be a slight change in scheduling because TBS is showing the Major League Baseball playoffs at some point in the next month or two. So whether that will affect them for a week or so, I don't know. But I think there will be weeks they will get it. Yeah.
At what time should WWE be worried?
I think some sensible people in office should have been worried before now, because when viewership starts to drop and they see how good AEW is, just because their company is richer, bigger, and that worldwide doesn't mean that fans won't turn on them and go elsewhere. So I think some people should have been worried. Vince might not have been because, he's the arrogant billionaire businessman.
Yeah.
But then other guys, I think, should have took notice of what AEW are doing and thinking, okay. So I think some people should be.
It's been good to have you on this podcast, and I'm sure we'll pick up this again next Wednesday, and we'll discuss the next weekly topics of WWE. But at the minute, a lot has touched the surface. Fans are going wild with the mockery of AEW and not hitting home the home truths of the past of WWE's lack of productivity. But I think we'll touch again on this. We'll continue this again next week, to be honest. But again, it's absolutely fantastic having you on board, and hopefully very soon we can get our other co-hosts back on here on this channel, and we can have a big debate as usual. And again, great topics we've discussed, and we value your critique on here, and we'll see you next week, mate.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for attending the Contenders Corner podcast, and I'll see you later, mate.
Yeah, thank you.
Check it.